Welcome back to Lane's ED Enhancement. Today we are in for a rough ride. Why are we in for a rough ride? We are going to be looking at cargo planning advanced stowing. This is being done to facilitate some students who have a particular exercise coming up. And so I am trying to get this out to them as quickly as possible. So what we'll be doing today will be introducing the transferring of information from an outline or pre-stow plan to a bay plan with the aid of the loading list. So we will use the following example, which I have given to these students for an exercise. First, we have the ship specification, and it states that reefer plugs are in the hatch or the hold, that is below deck. So reefers can be loaded, stowed below deck. Next, it tells us that the reefer units cannot be loaded beyond the second tier. And so we are aware that we must put them on either the 02 and the 04 below deck or the 82 and 84 above deck. This is definitely because of the situation with the plugs, which might not be able to stretch to the third tier and so on. Maximum weight of each cell or row below deck is indicated as 50, and the maximum weight on the deck is 100 for each row. There are some notes with the different indicators for like I cubes, HC, which we know is 9 feet 6 inches. There is a DV regular height container 8 feet 6 inches. Open top OT. RC is a regular reefer container 8 feet 6 inches. And specification now about the actual open top, which can be considered outer gauge OOG, which states that it would be over high, over the regular height of the container. The instructions we are given are to prepare an appropriate outline plan or pre-stow based on the port rotation that we are given. We are also to properly allocate bay numbering and cell address, that is bay row tier, on the bay plan for each and every container position. We are now to plan the bay properly so that no restow rehandling of cargo is required. And on the bay plan, we are going to write the container numbers in the bay position, ensuring that the number, size, type, weight, and port of destination or discharge are reflected. Now, the two ports we are using are port AROBED, which is the first port of discharge, and port BUSTA, which is the second port of discharge. Now, here's the loading list for port BUSTA, which is the second port of discharge, because that is the port we are going to be putting on the vessel first or initially. We are given some 20-foot containers with their weights beside them, all 12 of them. We are also given some 40-foot containers with their weights and types. So the DVs do not have any indicators, but the I cube, as you can see, we have the HC, and for the open top outer gauge, we have OOG and OT indicated there. Two reefer containers complete the loading list. So now that we have that, let us apply the step process to stow in the bay. Step 1 is already given. As you can see, the total number of containers for 20 foot it's 12, 40 foot it's 11, reefer containers 2, total of 25 containers for Port BUSTA. So we can now calculate step 2, which is calculating the total weight for the port. We have the 20-foot containers, and we list them based on the number and the weight, and we get a total of 125 tons. We continue with the 40-foot containers. We list them, number of containers and the weight of each until the end, open top, and the total weight is 166 tons for the 40-foot. For the 2 reefer containers, they are both 26 tons, and so we have 52 tons. Now, after we complete the weight calculation, we are aware that since the stack of each, the stack limit below deck is 50 tons, then we know that is a total. There is 5 stacks below deck. We realize that it can hold 250 tons. So we need to look at the total weight, which is 125, 20 foot, 166, 40 foot, and 52 for the 2 reefers. We get 343 tons. We know now definitely that all of these containers support BUSTA cannot be loaded below deck. And so we also know that the 00 row, which does not calculate on either the port or the starboard side, we know that is going to be like a buffer zone, a zone where we can put containers just to ensure that we have a good stability. So in that case, when we work step 3, which is the split might be a little different than what we actually get, because we'll be loading below deck based on the split, utilizing the 00. Once we have filled below deck to the capacity, then we are going to now move containers to the deck. And so let us look at the possibility of what the split would be. So step 3, possible splits: 172, 171, 173, 170, 174, 169. We would opt to use the closer one, the 172, 171. But as you know, for the best split, then we will go to step number 4 and see what for step number 4. Now, this is the step where we will identify the containers that match the split 172, 171. So once again, we look at the split, and this is what we came up with. Port side, we have 172 by putting 71 tons in terms of the 20-foot boxes, which would be 6 20-foot boxes, and we have an I-cube, a reefer, and a couple dry vans for 101, which give us the 172 tons. So we have identified those. On the starboard side, we have 4 and 2, that's 6 20-foot containers for 54 tons, and a couple DVs, I-cubes, 1 reefer, and the open top would go on that side. And that would be 117 tons, which give us a total of 171. Now, once we have identified these containers, we can prepare to go to step 5, where you will store them. However, we need to do steps 1 to 4 for Port AROBED first. So let's go over to look at the loading list for Port AROBED. We are given the following. Again, the 20s with the weights. This time we are given 6 20-foot boxes. We are given 2 reefer containers, and we look at the number of 40-foot boxes that are there. And as indicated for port BUSTA. The same thing goes here, where if it's not a DV, then you will indicate beside it HC and outer gauge, open top, and so on, right? Now, we will apply the step process once again to all of these. And again, since step 1 is given, we know that we have 6 20-foot, 12 40-foot containers and 2 reefers for a total of 20 containers. So Port BUSTA have 25 containers and Port AROBED have 20 containers. So we go over to step 2, where we look at calculating total weight for the port. And we would look for the 20s, all 6 of them. Total given turns out to be 86 tons. We look at now the 40s, again, all the total, all the containers with the weight, and we end up with 180 tons for the 40s. The reefers have 2 different weight. One is 21 tons, one is 20 tons. So that's 41. So the total weight for Port BUSTA when we calculate everything is 86 plus 180 plus 41, which gives us 307. After completing the weight calculation, we go on to step 3 for the split. And we find possible splits of 153, 154, 152, 155, 151, 156, and we decide to use the better one. And we will do again, see if we can find the containers that matches those splits. Once we have found them, we are going to load those containers on the above deck, since they are going to be above deck, and the split would make them okay. Once we get the correct split, the time is now to find. So once again, we set up to identify the containers, and we did, where we found that we have the 20-foot containers, 4 of them for 52 tons. We have some dry van, I-cube, and reefer, 1 reefer for 101 tons. Total of 153. We look at the starboard side, where we have the 2 20-foot containers for 34 tons, a couple DVs, I-cube, reefer container, and 2 open top, and that was 120. That gives us a total of 154. So we can now prepare to go to step 5, where we will store them. We will, however, start by first stowing Port BUSTA, which is the second port of discharge below deck. So that's where we're going next. Now, as stated before, all the containers of Port BUSTA cannot be accommodated below deck. So once again, we have stored to the capacity of the bay below deck. Then we can now store the remaining containers above deck, still maintaining the stability. So below deck, what we have placed, as you can see, is 40 tons on both wings, the 0403, and 46 in the 0102 cells for 86. Very nice. And for the middle, we have 48 tons below. Everything is below 50. And so we will promote the other containers above deck. So what we have stored below deck is 17 containers. And so we have the other 8 to put on the deck. And as we put them, we will ensure that we maintain the stability of the second port. Now, the first thing we do when we go above deck, because we put on the hatch cover now, go above deck, the first thing we need to do is to stow the remaining port BUSTA containers, and we are going to put them in black to differentiate them from port AROBED containers. And so we would store them first. As you can see, we have placed in the 00 cell, once again, 4 containers, 2 20-foot, 1 DV and an I cube, and on both wings, 05 and 03 on the starboard, and the 04 and the 06 on the port side, we have placed 2 DV each for a weight of 31. So we have a nice balanced vessel going to the second port. Now we need to put on the container support AROBED in the split 153, 154. So here we have stored port AROBED in the same split as we stated earlier, 153, 154, and they're all indicated in red. So all of them have been stored, and as you can see, I have indicated just the weight of the containers for the first port, and it's 50 in the 05, 50 in the 03, and 54 in the 01. And that's 154 on the starboard, and we have placed 72 tons in the 02, 45 in the 04, and 36 in the 06 for a total of 153. Sorry. Now that we have completed these, we are going to look at the overall stability of this vessel. Now this is going to show the overall stability, which turns out to be 184, 185. Now, what we are going to do next is to use this information that we have done on the pre-stored outline plan along with the loading list to store the containers on the bay plans. First, we are going to start below deck again, and then we will move to the above deck. So again, we start the bay plan below deck with port BUSTA by identifying each container based on the pre-store plan. And this is what we have placed on the forward side. As you can see, everything is there: the port, the container number, the type, the size, and the weight, and also the cell address for each container position. This is what the after side looks like, as you can see. So we have stored all the port BUSTA containers on the bay plan. Now, after completing this, we will first put the port BUSTA containers on the deck along with the port AROBED containers in red. So we're going to put the first port containers in red. So let's go to the deck. So here we complete the forward side, where, as you can see, the containers for port BUSTA is there, and then we put on the containers for port AROBED in red. Same thing: port, container number, the type, the size, the weight, and the cell address for each and every single container. Then we will to complete the after side, which is looking very good. Now, I must acknowledge a group of students who did this exercise to perfection under the guidance of one Miss Matthews. Very good work, team. It was so precisely done that I decided to use it different from what I had as a nice example. This is what you get when students have been efficiently and properly. Now, this was long but necessary. As you can see, it's exam time and everybody needs assistance to learn to stow the ship properly. This carries a lot of marks on their final exam. All right, so sorry for the lengthy video, but I hope it assists you guys well. Now, what's new for summer? Stay tuned to Lane's ED enhancement